Hello again. One of the things which I find fascinating is irrational beliefs. I don't mean beliefs which are false, but rather those which are held on grounds other than the strictly logical and rational. Some religious beliefs are like that, of course. I'm not thinking here so much as faith in the existence of God in itself, for that can be held on purely rational grounds, but rather the details of individual religions. For instance, the idea that Muhammad rode to heaven from Jerusalem on his magic horse Al-Buraq, or that Our Lady did not die but was transported bodily to heaven. Both these things might be true, of course, but there is no evidence for them. Holding them to be true is therefore not a matter of reason. We find the same thing when considering matters such as ethnicity and race. Now, most of us will admit that there are many differences between different ethnic groups. Some relate to outward appearance, skin colour and height, say, while others are invisible, perhaps the ability to digest alcohol or milk. Then there are differences in the brain, for example, the polygenic risk score for schizophrenia, which varies wildly according to ethnicity. Then, too, there are things which may and probably do vary between ethnic groups. Intellectual ability is a good instance of this. There is certainly evidence that this differs between, say, East Asians and white Europeans, and also between both those groups and black Africans. The evidence here is not, of course, conclusive. It is not nearly as strong as that relating to the enzymes necessary to process alcohol or digest dairy products. These can easily be measured and their presence or absence readily established. It's why one often sees facial flushing when Chinese people drink alcohol. The evidence for differences in cognitive ability are more subtle than that, and certainly open to question. In other words, we have to sift a lot of evidence from different sources, try and take various other factors into account which might be skewing things, stuff like social class, nationality, income, and so on. And then we may reach a provisional point of view, always being open to new facts as and when they emerge and being ready to change our minds. I see this approach quite often in those who tend to be on the right politically, that they are not as a rule wedded indissolubly to some orthodoxy, but are tentative in their views. The case is very different with those on the other side of the political spectrum, though. Left-wingers and liberals cannot entertain for a moment the idea that there might exist genuine and measurable differences in average intelligence between people whose ancestry lies in different parts of the world. Indeed, not only are they adamantly opposed to the idea, they grow angry if asked to explain why they believe that such differences do not exist. They regard any questions on the subject as dangerous, and those asking them as being suspect in the extreme. For them, this is not a question of considering an interesting and undecided question. It is rather a foundation stone of the ideology by which they live. They cannot countenance the idea and feel that the best way to deal with questions is to denounce the person asking the questions and then apply terms to them such as fascist, racist, and so on. In other words, their beliefs are not founded upon reason. Many of us first examine the evidence and then we build up our ideas about the world based upon the facts that we can establish. For anti-racists, the process is reversed. They start with the idea and then they try and find evidence which might provide a secure foundation for their belief. It is an Alice in Wonderland way of proceeding, and little wonder that they grow angry if it is pointed out what they are up to. anger and abuse are their only real tools in any debate on this topic.